Hello again. I wanted to follow up on the video that I made on money laundering and with the title tongue in cheek that only ordinary people launder money. I mean, what I meant by that is if you buy a house or open an ISA or another investment account, you'll have to go through money laundering. Sometimes you a little bit frustrating and a duplication of activities. And, and I wanted to put that into context of the money laundering that happens at a higher level and how the whole thing's a bit of a mirage. They try to harass people who are conducting very basic transactions that are part of an ordinary life and do that to try to create an impression that the system is safe and sound, when that really is quite a concoction of lies. I wanted to talk through the experience I had with WealthTech and Vertum and so on, and in particular Collingwood Wealth. I know there are only allegations of money laundering, but I wanted to kind of run through some facts and how the system doesn't pick up on things that are very, very unusual. And we've seen nothing from HM Treasury or the FCA to say the system has been made safer since this WealthTech scandal and the terrible impact it's had on the victims who have been their welfare has been subordinated to protecting the reputation of the FCA and upholding the secondary objective. Now, great rump of this money that alleged was part of fraud and money laundering was routed through Collingwood Wealth, which was supposed to just be a plain remuneration vehicle, because I was self-employed and I assume John was as well, and we received our drawings for it shouldn't have ever been in play because it was faux self-employment. I raised that many times with the accountant and John, and it was supposed to be a plain vehicle that received invoiced Vertum, Virtus, WealthTech, and then paid money out to John and I, and it operated a Santander account, which John oversaw, and it had an accountant, Deborah Graham of Rycroft Glenton, and it's worth remembering that I raised on more than one occasion with her via emails, which are recorded, that I was concerned about the vehicle being used beyond its purpose and potentially misused, and was told that it was all accounted for by John's drawings, and yet there was tens of double-digit millions passed through this account. So, see, the FCA don't oversee accountants, but you have Santander here, who seemingly didn't pick up on very erratic, often extremely large transactions passing through it and going all into different directions. And you would say they're entitled to their story, of course, but it does seem odd that nothing was raised. And similarly with Deborah Graham, why she knew about this bank account. She has a story to tell, so making accusations, but it's hard for me to understand how she wouldn't have wanted to see all the bank statements. She was preparing not only completing our self-assessments, but also compiling the accounts for Collingwood Wealth. That she wouldn't have wanted to see all these bank statements and how these transactions eluded her as well, evaded her attention. Now, to give you some perspective, I don't know whether it's coincidental or there was some sort of celebration or whatever, but in the month of, I resigned at the start of May 2021, and there was a 1 month period that we agreed, and so I concluded my time with it in 31st of May 2021. And in that month alone, there was over £2 million routed through this Santander bank account, which I don't know for sure, but it's quite possible it was money that was being prepared to finance the Lofts nightclub and probably other things as well. I'm only surmising at that. But, I'm looking at the timelines. And after this time, again, I'd raised with Deborah Graham that my concerns, and if you go back and you look at the videos I posted and the warnings I issued to the FCA saying you needed to audit all these LLPs, it's incredible that something like this could have happened. I assume what financed the farm in North Yorkshire, as far as I can see, wasn't routed through Collingwood. That seemingly went directly to Weatherby's, to another one where you would, again, they've got they're quite embedded in the horse racing industry as some sort of clearing, providing some sort of clearing mechanism for various transactions. And they've got their stories to say, but you would have to say, well, were there not reasons to believe that several £1 million coming from sort of financial business straight to them didn't raise concerns and require further investigation? And similarly with Santander, and of course we've got the Barclays debacle as well, where Barclays seemingly accepted we're told a falsified authorization letter with a pasted on client money permission, and on the strength of that opened up a client account which we're told a large amount of money was routed out from. So you've got major banks that seemingly failed to flag up very, very suspicious transactions. We've got a senior accountant that failed, that seemingly didn't see it either. And mistakes can happen, but these are of such severity that you can see how they're not. I don't believe they're being plain with us, straight with us, because the Treasury, the Parliament should want to know that if these allegations you say are proven, are correct, then what have you done to make the system more robust? Remember also that the self-cert that I flagged up in Lost to the Races, self-certification on the fit and proper test, when they say, well, you didn't tell us that you were issued with some sort of bankruptcy order from HMRC. Well, you're not going to, are you? If this sort of thing's going on, what's been done about that? It's absurd. Hiding, and this is where this whole regulator prosecutor thing serves the interests only of the regulator. It doesn't serve the interests of victims, because straight away people just said, we need to know no one else has done this, and it can't happen again if what you say is true. Hiding behind prejudice, and we've seen how prejudice is distorted. Starmer did it of the Southport riots. I don't condone any of the conduct, but he made it clear he expected the justice system, if you can call it that, better off calling it judiciary, to work into overdrive to process these people whilst labelling them as far right thugs before they even saw a court. So he's happy with prejudice to hide, in the instance of the Ukrainian male models and things like that. Was he acquainted with anyone? Can't ask. But prejudice is okay when it suits him. You see how the whole system is flawed. And similarly, we're told that the justice system is independent. And this trial has to wait till 2027, the autumn of. And yet the Southport trials on Starmer's orders got rammed through the system. So you can see the whole thing is corrupt. And money laundering, as the FCA take on crypto and things like that, and yet we haven't even determined whether they fixed these catastrophic errors here yet. And you can see that it's a con. They are protecting their own reputations, and it's all about the secondary objective and this growth objective, and hiding these terrible shortcomings because they don't want people to see these things and absorb the message they've got to take more risk and put it into the stock market and so on and so forth. So they're not being straight with you. And it's quite disgraceful when you consider it. There's also the fact back in 2016, the summer of, where there was an arbitration going on between John and a former trainer. And that required him to deposit some money into a holding account whilst the issue was investigated or arbitrated upon. And his payment was routed through Collingwood Well. And actually, a solicitor, a legal professional acting on behalf of the trainer, had actually used some intelligence and said, look, this doesn't look quite right, because you've got a vehicle that's been issued with strike-off notices and late filing accounts or something providing this payment. We can't be satisfied with the integrity of the source of funds. And then that money was taken back and routed in via different means. And so that the British Horse Racing Association knew there were really significant issues then. It's not known whether they informed the FCA, but that knowledge that I've just described to you came to the FCA at a later date from me as a consequence of the book Lost to the Races, the response that came from that. And that was after I was accused by Duncan Alga of non-cooperation, when they'd use this non-cooperation to threaten and bully you into doing what they want, which in my case was them writing a witness statement, me signing it off, and on the understanding that you couldn't discuss any of their shortcomings, which is absurd. It's an insult to the victims. There is already enough failure in this for the victims of WealthTech to have been refunded in full. Again, you can't. The FCA don't regulate the BHA, but you can see the problem with money laundering is it's such a patchwork, chaotic system. Different people looking at it in different sectors. It just fails, and particularly at a higher level. But they want to show an integrity to it by harassing people who are conducting just basic, ordinary transactions. And it's disingenuous and probably indicative of where we are in society, where you have these unaccounted for agencies and that sit outside of Parliament. They're never really held to account. That what Starkey calls the vandalism or the destruction of the British Constitution under Blair, and to a certain degree he's got a point. And you can see where it all leads, and you've seen also with the Epstein files, the rape gang scandal. As a society, with and my own issues that I've had with the family court, and so on and so forth. I mean, this is raising these issues is the one leg of the coordinated coercion that I've had, and the family courts and Northumbria Police are other ones. But you can see how even the police have descended into some sort of forms of degeneracy with in some cases complicity with the rape gang scandal, and in my case just complicity with corruption and extraordinary racism, using police state terror against me. How society is being sort of eaten, British society at the moment, being eaten from the inside out with corruption, and this is just an example with money laundering. So hope you find it useful. Take care. Bye.